Well, I think every summer MASH finds a way to bring more pain into the workout, and this hill is a perfect example. You know, it doesn't look too big when you look at it, but when you start running on it, it takes a toll on your body, and it's perfect for us. You know, it gives you that resistance training you need for the 5, 10, 15-second burst you're on the ice, and gives you a great cardio workout, a great leg workout, and I think MASH is just finding ways to improve your game and on and off the ice.
Season's usually done. All depends, obviously, how far you go, whether it be April. For junior hockey, it could be May in the National Hockey League, and if you're lucky enough to win the Stanley Cup, it could be June. But what we try to concentrate on, I think everybody likes to take 2-3 weeks and just get away from the game, away from skating, and not even hard training or lifting or anything. Just basically staying active by golfing, playing some tennis, or doing any kind of activity that doesn't have anything to do with hockey, just to sort of give you a mental break and your body a physical break.
Well, I think what you're seeing right now are players have taken off-ice conditioning as something that they control to a new level, and the importance of a long season. And probably most importantly is the ability to avoid injuries, which gives them a better chance of extending their career, and realizing how important now conditioning is. And you have players that probably may take 2 weeks, 3 weeks off once the season is finished, and have gotten into off-ice training, to track workouts, and then to the all different parts of the body for strengthening and conditioning that'll give you a better opportunity to sustain a long season through exhibition and regular season and into playoffs. And it is so important that these players give them that opportunity to compete at the highest level, because if they're not, they're certainly at a big disadvantage.
When I'm looking at the overview of the whole program, we use a 6-component approach. We try to identify what it requires to become an ultimate athlete. Within these areas of cardiovascular fitness, flexibility training, be it static and dynamic, strength training, performance training, which requires you to do your speed, agility, quickness, your plyometric work, and everything else that is encompassed in you becoming a better performer. We look at proper nutrition, because without that as your basis, you don't have a program. And lastly, we look at the mental conditioning approach. Way too often, we don't look at the whole. We break it up into its parts, and we don't focus in on the areas that we may need to work on. And usually those are our weak areas. So I'll make sure I'm not shy. I'll tell them exactly what they need to work on.
I used to work out with Rob regularly in the summertime. You know, and I was one of the guys who used to run those skates as a player. You know, and then the players were out there skating kind of, you know, and it's always better when someone runs the drills or whatever the case is. And, you know, I had actually talked to Bob Bugner, and he said, you know, it'd be great if you could come out and help out with the skates. So, you know, I came out, and I think it benefits the guys, and I like doing it. I mean, I'd much rather be out there playing, but at least I get to get out there with the guys, and, you know, hopefully it helps them get better.
Periodization is a concept that will break the summer training into specific parts. Within those parts, we usually use 3-week cycles in which we will train a specific system. In our program, what we like to do before we even get into a base program, we try to look at what we call rehab and reconditioning. After you're done a long season, there's muscle imbalances that have occurred that need to be addressed. A lot of my players will have to come in from having shoulder problems, back problems, maybe some hip flexor imbalances. We do a lot to try to improve their body's conditioning within that first 2 or 3 weeks. After that time, we start them off on a base program, which is the foundation of the whole program. Within there, we introduce the strength training, we introduce flexibility, we introduce cardiovascular type of training. There's a heavy focus on aerobic conditioning at the base training, simply because that's where you would basically establish an aerobic base. You wouldn't want to start training for an aerobic base later in the summer when you need to be speedy and explosive. So you really need to pay attention to how you're going to treat your whole program so that there's that base
The more you can get on the ice, it's still hockey, and you can train all you want, but the more you get on the ice, the better you're going to be. So ideally, with a month to go, you start getting on the ice 4 or 5 times a week, so you get the early jump on guys. It's a long year, but if you can get a month, jump on guys, conditioning-wise, feet-wise, you're that much further ahead of the guys. So, I think in the years to come, I'm going to, try and get as many guys and my players as possible on the ice as much as possible. And then at the end, just for conditioning guys, we give them a little skate at the end. The guys that want to, get better as a hockey player do it, and the guys that don't, can do it kind of lackluster. But you'll see the true professional guys, the guys who really want to make money at this game and go on, are the guys that really push themselves.
In hockey, definitely there's a lot of things going on the ice. And one thing you try to find is just the confidence about you, and just find your skill set that you're going to be confident out there every day to go out and have that kind of background. So what you want to do is practice. I mean, definitely when I go out there and not just regular practice with my teammates and stuff, where you're just doing drills, you want to be competitive with your other teammates and just go out there and have fun, and things will start happening naturally. Yeah, definitely a lot of people, they say stuff like rollerblading and playing with the tennis ball, and they basically tell you to concentrate on ice hockey, but all those things are good for you. Playing rollerblade, you can learn to stop differently, and gives you better footwork, I feel, and even stick handling with the tennis ball, it's the same motion, and even gives you a big advantage when you get out there with the puck. It makes it seem a lot easier.
Your base program will lead into a strength training program. You're starting to increase your loads with weights. And if you're too young, you would use your body weight exercises as a basis, but you wouldn't worry about the actual loading of weight. You would slow down movements. You'd make it harder within that context, so that you're not necessarily stunting growth or putting too much of a load on a person who still may grow. So we'll utilize different techniques on muscle building so that we don't compromise growth and development. That is very important. And if you're not paying attention to those factors, you could probably have a very negative effect on somebody's career. I've seen it happen, and hopefully I have never been responsible for anything like that. So with the plyometrics, you need to learn how to do the proper explosive techniques that are associated with that. And if you are not learning the proper techniques, you're probably not going to get the most out of your plyometric program. You can jump till you're blue in the face, but if you're not doing it with the right technique, with a solid body structure, with your core stability activated, so that you are doing movements with a purpose. You're not just going about jumping and doing a whole bunch of explosive activities without knowing that your body needs to be in a certain position. So we do take pride in that part.
Well, starting probably even at younger ages right now, that I see players are getting involved in having a personal trainer to show them the proper way of training, how to lift properly, how to stretch properly, and then most importantly, get the right nutrition into you, is a head start above a lot of other guys that just think that they can show up and put in time and be able to compete. It's not that way anymore compared to the old days where you had a month of training camp of 2-a-days, you got yourself in shape. Now you're going into a training camp and you may have 3, 4, maybe 5 days before you're into exhibition games, and that to me just tells how important your off-ice training is in order to prepare you for that.
Well, you see the guys that are at the next level, and it really helps you a lot because you see what you gotta get to, and how hard you gotta work to get there, and their skills are unbelievable. And if you want to get there, you have to work really hard, and they show you that.
Yeah, that drill we just did, me and Shock, it's basically for quick feet, to get your feet going as fast as possible around the gloves or the pylons, but at the same time you got to keep your head up and you got to make sure that you're snapping the puck back and forth. So it just simulates a game situation when you grab the puck in a neutral zone, and you got to get away from a guy real quick with quick feet, but at the same time you got to have your head up and make a nice pass and move the puck to regroup your forwards going the other way. So it sort of combines all the aspects of really the defensive part of moving the puck and keeping your feet moving.
Once you're done your strength phase, you enter into the speed and power phase, and this is where we can get very sport specific. That's the fun part. This is where we really go crazy on interval work, not only indoors but outdoors. We start utilizing the hill that we have in our city, which is basically an old garbage dump, but it works. We start utilizing the track in regards to their explosive linear power. There's a great correlation between the speed that you obtain running and the speed that you can obtain on the ice. So knowing that, the mechanics that would allow you to become a great runner are very closely related to the mechanics that would make you a great skater. One of the things that we do in the speed and power phase is we decrease the amount of time that they're working out for. It would be impossible to kick butt for 2.5 hours straight. So we shrink down the amount of time that they're spending in the gym, and we highly intensify the program. Within that parameter, guys are working as hard as they can for short periods of time. We introduce circuits into their program so that they're doing a lot of specific sport reactions that would make them better players. Also within the speed and power phase, I make sure that they graduate into another speed and power phase in which we start introducing more ice workouts, more things that would allow them to start transferring everything they've learned in the gym to the ice. If there isn't that transfer, that's where the problems become apparent. And so we take pride in our program to try to start them off with a very broad base and then slowly but surely introduce the parameters necessary for them to be explosive come camp.
Well, you're looking at the importance of off-ice training, and if for myself and the rest of Scouts is that you have a combine where players come in and are tested. It gives you a real good idea as to the strength of these individuals, flexibility, and who's really putting the time in and is committed to improving. And then you go into training camp, and the first thing you go through is a physical as well as off-ice testing for your cardio, for your strength, and flexibility to see where you're at. And we place a priority on this kind of training simply because it tells us how committed you are as a player and the areas you need to get better at or improve. And then you go into training camp, and again, training camp is finally under control to a point where you're going at a very high level, but you're asked to do an awful lot in a short period of time to get ready for exhibition games, and then before you know it, the season's upon you. You've got an 80-game schedule, plus you can go into June with playoffs. So you're looking at well over 100 games that'll consist of a season. And what we're looking at, which is so important, are injuries. By doing this kind of training, you've eliminated the fact that you have a chance of getting injury. You're in better shape to avoid these injuries. And by playing means that we have a better chance of winning.
Working with Rob Maggio this past summer has been great for me. You know, I think I'm in the best shape of my life again this summer. He always finds ways to push yourself and get your body in the best shape and best physical shape, I guess you can say. You can go and perform out there in the top of your game. Been working with him now for about 4 or 5 years, 6 years, and knock on wood, I've always gone to shape, in great, healthy shape, and always been at the top of the physical charts. Some of the goals this year are, for me personally, is trying to get in the NHL. You know, I played 4 years in the minors now, and I think I've paid my dues, and I think I'm ready for make that big step, you know. And so I just got to go into camp and try and make an impression with the team and try and give them not the reason to send me down.
I think one of the biggest things, Rob, is he adapts to everything that, you know, the newest things out there. He doesn't just stick with one program, you know, year after year. He researches stuff all year, and he finds out the newest, innovative stuff. You know, today's day and age, it's all about core strength, you know, and he finds those things out, and he pushes the guys. So, I mean, he dedicates pretty well the whole summer to get guys in shape, and, you know, I think the guys really appreciate it.
When the players come to see me, I think they come to see me because not only do I have some information, I think there's a lot of great trainers out there. I think it's the application of it and the honesty in which I'm giving them the information. And you have to be straightforward. And just because you're working with higher caliber players, you shouldn't change your method. That's what they're getting from myself. They're really getting an honest, tested approach that's being worked on every single year. I am not satisfied with the results even in my own programming, so I constantly look to get better and better. They realize that, and my program evolves every single year as I evolve. I look to study, I look to obtain more information, but I do give it everything I have. There's a real close association to my heart for some reason when it comes to hockey. That's what I think has made my business grow to the point where it has grown, and I think it's just the beginning, because what ends up happening is the more you give to the program, the more you get back. And as a result, I'm seeing some great progress happening with these guys, and that's how they pay me back. When I see them kick some butt on their programming and come back and give me the news that they've done really well in their fitness testing, or they're scoring goals, or if they're a defenseman and they're clearing guys out of the zone and they're doing what they need to do, they're being the best that they can be. And I can honestly say that's what we look for in here.